With the awful state of Season 2 for Tekken 8 and also the fact that Fatal Fury is not even out yet, during the weekend I thought maybe I can give Street Fighter 6 another try and play it a little. I haven't played SF6 that much since I got carried to Master Rank, and I wanted to maybe play another character like Ryu. And well, I played the game for an hour and a half or two, and guess what? I got bored, yay! So the reason why I get bored is what I want to talk in this video. I want to talk about the problems with this game that I feel have made it a little stale over the years, because it's been 2 years since the game came out and it has seen very little changes. So we're gonna talk at least about the key problems that I see with the game and its gameplay, and also some changes that I would like to see for Season 3. So let's get into it. So, even though SF6 is a great game, as an overall product, it's probably the best fighting game out there to just pick up and play. It has some problems with the gameplay that I want to talk about, or why I get bored while playing it. And the big one, the big reason why this happens is because the gameplay in this game is very homogenized. When you play this game a ton, it starts to feel like every character plays the exact same way. It doesn't really matter which character you play or which identity your character has. A ton of the time, it feels like everyone is playing the same options, because the universal options of the game, the system mechanics, or the options that can basically emerge out of the system mechanics, are so strong that there is no reason to really express your character identity that much. It's better to just use the universal mechanics because they are excessively good. And I think that this is a big problem. The system mechanics don't need to be necessarily weaker to fix this, but you need to have more identity in relation to the gameplay of your characters. It can't be that everyone in the roster does the same thing in every round, because every round is fireball into drive rush, low medium kick cancel into drive rush, and you basically, do a combo if you get a hit, or you do a block string if you don't, then throw loops, in the corner, throw loops, every character, so these options that are universally available for most characters are so good that when you play the game, you don't really express the identity of the character that you're playing, or the specific game plan that you would like to play. You just play the most optimized way in relationship to the most strong universal system mechanics and options that the game has. And I really hate that. I feel like this is a game that can have a really strong, identity, and that every character can feel extremely different to play. But the developers have taken a path in which the universal options for the characters are so strong that it doesn't really make sense to have a specialized game plan with your character. And well, this of course comes with overall both good and bad things, because when you have an homogenized gameplay like it happens with this game, and almost all characters do the same and use the same options, basically everyone is viable. You can play any character, and almost all characters can have throw loops. Almost all characters have a low that is cancelable into drive rush. Almost all characters can do some sort of, neutral option into drive rush, or have a neutral skip that can give them an Oki to have, offense with drive rush. So I think that at the end of the day, this is the biggest problem for me, at least with the game. It feels very, very homogenized, and it makes the game very repetitive. You play the game and the same stuff happens over and over again. And when you think that you can maybe do something creative to deal with your opponent, you realize that the best option to win or to defeat the other guy is do the same option. Do the same stuff again. You're on the corner, you want to win the round, or maybe I should do some specific Oki that I have practiced with this character, or mix up. No, throw with the people. Just throw them. Why would you do anything different? There's no reason to do it. The best option is the universal option. So I really hate that. I think that it makes the game very stale and very boring over time. And after 2 years, of course, you're gonna get bored of the same gameplay. It's normal. It's the normal cycle of every fighting game. So I would like for this to change. I would like for some changes in the game that make every character have more identity and a specified, game plan, a unique character trait that makes him have a very, very specific game plan, and that not everyone is doing the same every round and every fight. I think that is the biggest problem with Street Fighter 6 at the moment. And of course, the big problems that I'm talking about, the feeling of homogenized gameplay, the lack of character identity that I feel also is connected to how little changes the game has seen. The developers, and their philosophy of development around this game has been, this is a good game, we're not gonna change it at all. The game is very similar to what it was on release, so it feels like it is still the same experience, and that is not necessarily wrong. It can make the game a little boring to some people, and that's it. So I want to talk about changes that I would do to make the game a little more fun, and that I would like to see on Season 3. The first big change, of course, to no surprise of anybody, is basically that throw loops need to be gone. Okay, throw loops are not fun they are not a good experience for you as a player at all, both in offense and defense. It makes offense very repetitive and boring, and it makes defense a nightmare because it's a guess game. There is no real defense, it's just guessing. So in that sense, I think that we need to have throw loops basically eliminated. They don't do anything good for the game, and they need to be gone. They are just not fun, and at the end of the day, the most important part of balancing a funny game is to make it fun, okay, to make it entertaining to play and watch. And throw loops are not fun to play with and not fun to watch, okay. So that is a big change that needs to happen. I'm not gonna go in super, detail about it. What I would do personally is that I would give people more plus frames on a successful throw. If you throw someone, you have more plus frames to have even better Oki, but you do not have access to basically throw loops. I think that is the easiest and best way to fix it. Then another change that I would personally add to this game that I haven't seen anyone talk about is that I would like for meterless invincible reversals to come back to Street Fighter. I think that it is basically a really strong part of the identity of some characters that they have meterless invincible reversals, like Ryu, Ken, Akuma, the Shotos in general. I think that it is very good to have that because it makes defense more dynamic. It makes the guessing game for reversals more connected to basically a playstyle instead of just using good resource management, because at the moment you can basically guess if someone is going to do a reversal depending on the drive gauge that they have, and that's it. If you are smart, you're not gonna do a reversal if you're gonna get burned out after it. And if you're super smart, you're only going to do reversals when you have a ton of drive gauge, so you can still play neutral after. So in that sense, I think that it would be good to have meterless invincible options back, because they are connected to the identity of some characters, and at the same time, it makes defense more dynamic. It transforms the defensive options into mental games instead of being resource management games. And I think that it would be great to have that back on Street Fighter, because they deleted that on Street Fighter 5, and I feel like it changes, the whole dynamic of playing Street Fighter in general. So I would love to have meterless reversals back. Then another change that I would like to see is that I would like to basically put everyone that is doing drive rush on neutral into an automatic counter hit state. So if you're doing drive rush on neutral, to force your offense on the other guy, and the other guy stops your drive rush with a big button, they should get a combo. You should automatically go into counter hit state, because it is basically very stupid to have the option of doing drive rush 24/7 and not get punished when the other guy knows how to play against it. Right now, if you stuff someone's drive rush and they are not already pressing basically, or their button is not out yet, you just basically get a little poke and you go back to neutral. So the other guy has infinite options to go rush down on you and not get punished at all for it that much. So I think that it would be great if when you hit someone doing drive rush or whiffing drive rush, they should be automatically on a counter hit state if you hit them. I think that it's fair. I think that it would make, again, the neutral game much more deep, more mental game, more, less guessing, and more basically reward for playing and reacting well. I think that it would be very good to basically get a combo when you punish someone for being impatient on offense. And then the last change that I would like to see is that I would like for EX moves to use less drive gauge when they are being used on a combo. I think that the combo system and structure in this game has become also very boring over time. The most, optimal combos are always the same. They have the same structure, and they tend to be the most boring ones. So I would love to see basically the option to use more EX moves and have more creative combos that do a similar damage to optimal, because you can use more EX on hit, when you're already doing your combo. On neutral, for example, if you do an EX fireball, I think that the usage of drive gauge for that specifically should stay the same, or it will be a nightmare to play the game. But if you're already hitting someone, you're already doing a combo, I think that it would be great if you could use more EX moves than what you can do now. I think that it would make the game more fun, more entertaining to both watch and play, and it makes it more creative. And I think that that is something that this game lacks. A lot of the time the game can feel very loose because of the system mechanics, but at the same time there is another side of the coin in which the game can feel very, very homogenized, as I said before, because everyone does the same. So I would like to also see some diversity in the combo structure and not basically be dependent of the same combos for every character or the same logic for combos for every character. So EX moves on hit for combos, maybe they should use less drive gauge. And those are all my changes for Street Fighter 6. I think that this game is great. It just maybe needs some tweaks to make it feel a little more entertaining over time. And let's hope that the game, sees some nice changes, even if they are not what I said. I think that the game can be very, very fun again if it sees some changes based, on diversity of the gameplay and also creativity and entertainment around the gameplay. So if you enjoyed the video, let me know what you think in the comments, about the game. Are you bored with SS6 or do you still have fun with it? And like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and see you in the next one, guys.